Hello, we are MBA students at UV. This is our presentation about critical discussion of different approach to the marketing audit. Our presentation will start with definition of marketing audit, and then we will explain why we should do the marketing audit, the benefits of doing marketing audit, and then we will critically analyze different approach to do the macro and micro environment. The internal environment of the company will also mention later. The data collection and limitation to collect data also refer after that. Finally, we will conclude with discussion and reference. Firstly, regarding to the marketing audit definition, marketing audit is defined as a comprehensive, systematic, independent, and periodic examination of a company. It's about marketing environments, objectives, strategies, and activities to determine problem and opportunity, and then we can recommend some plans or action to improve the company's marketing performance. Moreover, the marketing audit is also defines the comprehensive assessment of all angles of the marketing operation in one organization. It's a systematic evaluation of plans, objectives, strategies, activities, and organizational structures, as well as the marketing staff. That is the definition of marketing audit. Now, my friend say will explain to you why we should do the marketing audit and the benefits of marketing audit.
Why marketing audits? By scanning the micro and macro environment, companies will be able to reassess the marketing plan according to the current company position in this environment and where the company wants to position itself. For example, a company can shift their marketing budget from one medium to the other, such as change in advertisement from TV to online, based on market trends and change in customers' preferences. Another example, using Pestle enabled Johnson and Johnson to have a clear picture on their target markets, which enabled them to assess their marketing plans. Due to a decline in birth rate in Nigeria, Johnson and Johnson changed their marketing of baby lotion products, as the product is now marketed as good for both women's skin and baby's skin. The same applies to the baby wipes, which is now marketed as good for both women and babies. Eventually, the company's performance will improve and it will affect the overall growth of the company. I will now introduce the next presenter, which is Pris, on the pestle analysis.
First, I want to give you a brief meaning of PESTLE. PESTLE is an abbreviation of politics, economy, social, technology, legal, and environment. This analysis might be one of the best methods to analyze impact on marketing in macro level. Nevertheless, different companies have different focuses on their macro scanning. For example, P for politics or L for legal. In analyzing firearms manufacturer like Smith and Wesson Holding, one of the major US firearms manufacturer, politics and legal factors are directly affect the weapons industry for decades. Transition of government and changing of political leaders can lead to a new gun policy, which is the vital factors for firearms manufacturers' survivability. In the other hand, some other companies can also use other factors in pestle. For other example, E for economic. The first E can also apply for company like Mondelez Malaysia. Economic factor can be one factor that hindered a company from growing due to sharp currency depreciation happened in 2015. Sales value of Mondelez was also decreased. Another E for environmental. We can also raise H&M as another remarkable example. H&M strategy focused on sustainability. The company identified their strategic planning for medium or long term, embarked upon new projects, and also identified opportunities and threats from environmental factors. Last but not least, the S for social. Like Johnson & Johnson, which is an appropriate example, they focus on health problems which become trends nowadays among healthy generations. The trend encouraged Johnson & Johnson to focus on their marketing more on health issues products. And here are some general ideas about how pestle can be used to analyze markets in macro scanning. And next slide I would transfer to Anas for Porter 5 Force. First, I want to give you a brief meaning of pestle. Pestle is an abbreviation of politics, economy, social, technology, legal, and environment. This analysis might be one of the best methods to analyze impact on marketing in macro level. Nevertheless, different companies have different focuses on their macro scanning. For example, P for politics or L for legal. In analyzing firearms manufacturer like Smith and Wesson Holding, one of the major US firearms manufacturer, politics and legal factors are directly affect the weapons industry for decades. Transition of government and changing of political leaders can lead to a new guns policy, which is the vital factors for firearms manufacturers' survivability. In the other hand, some other companies can also use other factors in pestle. For others example, E for economic. The first E can also apply for company like Mondelez Malaysia. Economic factor can be one factor that hindered a company from growing due to sharp currency depreciation happened in 2015. Sales value of Mondelez was also decreased. Another E for environmental. We can also raise H&M as another remarkable example. H&M strategy focused on sustainability. The company identified their strategic planning for medium or long term, embarked upon new projects, and also identified opportunities and threats from environmental factors. Last but not least, the S for social. Like Johnson & Johnson, which is an appropriate example, they focus on health problems which become trends nowadays among healthy generations. The trend encouraged Johnson & Johnson to focus on their marketing more on health issues products. And here are some general ideas about how pestle can be used to analyze markets in macro scanning. And next slide I would transfer to Anas for Porter 5 Force.
In this slide, I'm going to talk about our approach to the microenvironment and Porter's 5 forces. Porter's 5 forces is a useful tool to help a company in understanding where power lies in a business situation. It helps the company to be aware of its strength in its current competitive position. By having a clear understanding of where power lies, the company can then take an advantage of a situation of strength, improve a situation of weakness, and avoid taking wrong steps. The Porter's 5 forces model is based on the idea of competition. The idea assumes companies in the market are trying to reach a competitive advantage over each other. However, the tool might be less suitable in highly collaborative markets such as firearm manufacturing industry. An example of this can be seen when Smith & Wesson was going bankrupt in 2000. Another firearm manufacturer called Safety Hammer supported Smith & Wesson with some gun safety technologies to help them to get back on their feet. Safety Hammer incentive was to establish a relationship with Smith & Wesson that can enable both parties to exchange their technologies in the future. Now I'm going to show the Porter's 5 forces in the example of IKEA. Interestingly, we can see the IKEA possession of power in most of the Porter's 5 forces. If we look into the bargaining power of suppliers, IKEA has the bargaining power over suppliers. The strong brand name together with the large established customer base make the company very attractive to suppliers. As the company is known to sell also very mass volume, IKEA is also known to maintain a good long-term relationship with its suppliers, which is even another reason to make the company more attractive to suppliers. The IKEA possession of power can be found in the force of threat of substitute. IKEA faces a low threat of substitute in products and services. The Swedish company has been in the market for a very long time and been investing a lot of money to improve the product design and the shopping experience. Now I'm going to pass the presentation to my colleague Christos.
After scanning the macro and micro environments, the company audit is conducted to evaluate the marketing strategy in these environments. Although the external information and analysis are essential to success, they are not sufficient to achieve the required success unless they are accompanied by a thorough analysis of the organization's internal environment. Resource-based view is considered as taking an inside-out approach while analyzing the firm. This means that the starting point of the analysis is the internal environment of the organization. Research on the resource-based approach has shown that the effective application of all useful resources and capabilities can help a company to gain a sustained competitive advantage. Resources of the firm can include all assets, capabilities, organizational processes, firm attributes, information, and knowledge. Due to the complexity of evaluating each of the internal resources in their contribution to the competitive advantage, I identified in my conduct of the marketing audit some particular resources which are the most relevant in the achievement of the competitive advantage. An organizational resource should have 4 characteristics to provide the potential for competitive advantage, which are valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable. These characteristics form the VRIN model. For example, Starbucks provides value by offering a high-quality gourmet coffee that other competitors do not offer in a regular basis. This is a unique customer value and the key to Starbucks' success to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage, as customer is willing to pay more for this quality. Now I'll pass the presentation to Ro. Thank you.
In this slide, I am going to talk about the method of data collection. We rely heavily on online data and reports. Not only that we search for information through the company website, we utilize online library resources by using the library databases to search for statistical information. One example could be using Passport, the Euromonitor International, to gain pricing in Malaysia's savory biscuit. By using the data provided, it becomes easier to identify the market positioning of Mondelez Malaysia. Other than that, we use case studies and information published by consultancy agencies to obtain certain evidences and supports. We have members who worked in IKEA and Army Force before, which enabled them to understand further internal market and resources. Also, to understand the market stand in Malaysia, I use interviewing method to understand consumers' thought
towards Mandala's Malaysia. We faced few challenges in data collection. An obvious one is time limitation. We are short of time in conducting the marketing research for our companies. It is challenging to conduct a thorough marketing audit in such short period. In addition, as some of us have not been in the company we selected on before, we were not able to get in-depth information due to data and information confidentiality. As some companies do not provide free reports and company information, we were not able to access those information without paying. Lastly, data accuracy is questioned as limited time to filter information, as well as using interview method to understand brand positioning and reputation in a particular country. Limited time and network has made it harder for us to get accurate information. Next, I'll pass my floor to Pris. Thank you.
In order to come up with sustainable marketing strategies, we should use hybrid methodology to conduct the marketing audit. Hence, the approach may be used differently based on the objective in each industry. Here are some alternatives that we can use in macro environment, micro environment, and internal environment. Firstly, stepwise for macro environment. Johnson and Scholes suggest a stepwise approach to focus steps that are designed to provide a strategist with a clear understanding, not just current state of environment, but also how it is most likely to develop in the future. But, in the other hand, macro level are hard to predict, especially with the social trend and competitors' variable factors such as technologies. For microenvironment, strategy group analysis can be another option. Strategic groups are understood as an industry grouping where existing companies share similar strategy. To identify their groups, you have to make a strategy group map. Strategy group mapping allowed company to recognize the group structures and assess the attractiveness of the industry as well as knowing the strategy group competitions between each other. In the strategy group map, you must have variables that are not highly correlate to each other. However, there are multiple variables in all types of industry, and it is difficult to choose the two appropriate variables that might have. Last alternative that we suggest in this slide for internal environment analysis is the value chain model. The value chain approach to internal analysis is about evaluating the collecting of activities within the organization in which the value is added to the final product or service. Manufacturing companies, as an example, creates value by acquiring raw materials that can be used to produce something useful. The value chain analysis, however, can go beyond the audit of an organization's internal resources, as some of the value creation can occur outside the organization. For example, the value of an IKEA sofa with a replaceable cover is not only influenced by the IKEA brand activities and the product design, but also by the franchise in a particular country making the right display of the product and offering wide range of sofa covers and securing availability of sofa spare parts such as sofa legs in case of damage. Finally, the value chain analysis is criticized to be more suitable for manufacturing firms and may in some cases be difficult to apply in a service provider environment. Next, Christos will talk to you about discussion. Thank you.
In this slide, I'm going to briefly highlight some of our key findings of our conduction to the market audit. Strategy formulation starts properly, not with an assessment of the organization's external environment, but with an assessment of the organization's resources. To conclude our presentation, we can say what is suitable for a company might not be the same to another. As mentioned before, different companies tend to focus on different components in PESTEL. Also, from the comparison of Porter-File forces, it is obvious that Porter-File forces do not work in every industry. Therefore, different approaches need to be taken into consideration on their suitability. Secondly, the analysis outcome differs based on geographical condition, where companies will not get same results of scanning environment globally versus scanning on particular country. Lastly, we believe that SWOT analysis as an important tool in understanding the environment as a whole. The components, opportunities, and threats can be seen as external environment factors, where strengths and weaknesses can be analyzed using analysis on microenvironment and organizational internal capabilities. There is no one right set of marketing audit that can fit into all industries and organizations. In order to conduct a marketing audit, the organization have to find the optimum combination of many different models, along with clarifying the objectives on conducting marketing audit. The last slide will be our references for this presentation. Thank you for your attention.